Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Eye Opener Society. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again for joining us here in our little space. We are so happy to have you, and it's always great to have the great audience that we do. And this week, I know I gave them a shout out, but Echo Aura Productions. I just wanted to show off my shirt here a little bit if I can. Those of you who are watching on video, I just want to let you know these are our new shirts made up by Echo Aura Productions. Echo Aura does the podcast, just us thinking, just us tasting, just us traveling. There's a couple of those they do on YouTube as well, but look them up, Echo Aura Productions. Really fantastic people. And in between of all that podcasting, they still find the time to make t-shirts and other items. And they have a whole thing of 3D produced items too as well. Reach out to them, Echo Aura Productions. They can help you out with a lot of stuff. And if you just want to listen to a great podcast, tune into them. I also wanted to give another shout out to another podcaster, Swales from the Bell Witch Podcast. Yes, I've been listening to the Bell Witch Podcast for a very long time. It is my peace. It is my serenity. I really enjoy listening to Swales. Witching in the 21st century. She gives you a whole lot of insight, whole lot of information. She also has some brilliant guests where I've learned so much from them. So tune into the Bell Witch Podcast. And the reason I wanted to mention is because Swales, a while back when I was going through a lot of crap and there was so much going on with me emotionally, she just reached out and she drew me a sigil. And that sigil I kept at work and it helped me through a lot of stuff. And very soon it's going to be tattooed onto my skin. That's how much it means to me. So I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. So again, the Bell Witch Podcast and Echo Aura Productions. And today I am here, of course, with my lovely co-host, Lizzie. And Lizzie and I, we were talking, and every now and then, Lizzie throws me some little curveballs here and there. And she sent me this here video that showed a social experiment. To break it down real quick, it was done where this girl was the test subject. Everybody else was in on it. And they're inside of like an office setting. And every now and then a bell would ring. Every time that bell would ring, everyone would stand up. At first, this girl, the test subject, she doesn't know what's going on, but she's looking around. But after a while, every time the bell rang, everybody stood up. She started to stand up. And now she was conditioned. So as everybody left and she was there, a new test subject walked in. The bell would ring. She would stand up, and the guy would look at her like, "What the hell are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, well, everybody else was doing it, so I thought we had to do it." So I looked at this and I said, "This is a podcast episode," because I think right now, with everything going on, I think life has become a social experiment. I feel. What about you there, Lizzie? You don't want to send me this. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, I think this plays into so many different things, and it's so subliminal. Like, in that, study after she leaves, because she goes into her, quote, "appointment," right? He keeps standing up, and the next people come in, and nobody has any idea, and I feel like this is how we operate from public school, social order in a grocery store. Everybody just kind of, like, looks around and then follows, like, what they're supposed to be doing or they perceive to be doing.
Yeah, I'm thinking more, when it comes to all the mainstream media and when they're feeding us narratives, those narratives are basically social experiments as well to get you to conform to a certain way of thinking. Because I think somebody's trying to turn off the switch for free thinking inside of people's minds. I think every time somebody tries to speak, something that's probably more logical, or even if it's not logical, or even if it's just a matter of opinion, you're wrong because it's not following that social experiment that's going on. And it becomes dangerous after a while because this is one way to destroy everyone's freedoms. I don't care what country you're from. Your freedoms are now taken away when you're being told which way to think. And then they bring in the thought police on top of that.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was gonna go into the public school system, but maybe that's like the perfect thing because they get you when you're so young and you're conditioned to do all of this extra work. And a lot of times kids don't even understand what they're learning until after they've learned it. And I think that that's just kind of what we do at home and just kind of everywhere. I don't know. I didn't really think about it that in depth till just barely, but
Mm. Well, that's what happens. You see, because again, it's thinking, it's free thinking. So you'll send me a video like that, and I can interpret it one of 5 different ways because it is a social experiment. And these social experiments have been going on for a long time. There are actual, a few of them, Asch's conformity experiments that studied how individuals conform to group pressure, even when the group's answer is clearly wrong. So a group would keep saying the wrong answer, even though clear, like 5 plus 2 is 19. And everybody in the room would say it's 19. But any normal logical thinking person, that's not correct. It's 7. But after hearing the wrong answer so many times, they start answering 19. So that's just again, it's this kind of like a peer pressure thing, but nobody wants to appear wrong. Nobody wants to stand up and have a different voice. They did the Bandura's Bobo doll experiment. That's when the younger kids were exposed to adults beating up this Bobo doll, and
oh, I've seen that one.
yeah, so this way now the impression as kids when the kid's alone with that Bobo doll, what do? They wind up lashing out against that doll. So that was another social experiment. That one probably not too bad because yeah, that's showing something that we
Well,
should be exposed to.
that yeah, and that one, people don't really realize it. I walked in a couple of months ago. My baby is a pretty tiny baby, and we've got a baby doll that was maybe like 2 inches smaller than her. And my older daughter's having so much fun just flinging the baby around, watching the baby hit the ground, trying to play with my baby. And I just walked in and I was like completely horrified. I was like, that is the same size as the baby that you're watching right now. Like, what are you normalizing in her brain? And of course, my 10-year-old was just like, I'm flinging the baby doll. It's a baby doll. But like for me, that's because that's what everything about a baby is doing is absorbing absolutely everything. And the things that you normalize, the things you show them, that's what they want to engage in. And that's where these patterns start.
Mm, interesting observation. Yeah. That is true. So that's why some of these social experiments are probably beneficial because it shows, hey, here's what kids are, viewing us as adults. They're impressionable. They're going to mimic what we do. So, yeah, the Bobo doll experiment, probably a little bit, more educational. The Milgram experiments, where they explored how and why people obey authority, even when it conflicts with their personal conscience. This is the one where they were administering electrical shocks to people under the guise of authority. And they didn't care how much pain that person was going through as long as that authority was saying, "Oh, it's okay. They're not in pain. This is not harmful." They will keep pushing that button.
Even the ones who seemed to have a problem with it and felt bad, they still just kept pushing the button. Even though
Mhm.
nobody was really being shocked, just in case anybody hadn't heard that, it was
Mhm.
just like the sounds of it, but the person pushing it had no idea there was not really a person on the other side not being shocked. I
Mhm.
don't know the name of the study, but I also saw one where this teacher pulled a couple of students aside and told them about what she was going to do. And then she brings everybody into the classroom and she basically invites this like open discussion for like a new rule of the classroom or whatever. And so the students she'd pulled aside stand up and like say something like an argument of what she's saying, but like very politely. And she just starts yelling at them and sends them to the principal's office. And then turns back to the rest of the class, talks a little bit more. Everybody agrees with her. They all write a very lengthy essay on why she's correct. And even though she was very obviously wrong, like the rule didn't
Mhm.
really necessarily make sense, but everybody just saw what happened when you disagreed. And so they just disagreed without even thinking about it.
Yep. And then a little before I came on here with you, I seen one where this woman was walking around and they were like on a bridge, like on a sidewalk or a pedestrian bridge, and people were stopping and look, over the bridge. She would just walk by and she'd go, "Oh, yeah, there's no standing on the bridge," you know, and they would look at her like, "Get out of here, Lee." Same woman puts on a high visibility vest and carrying a clipboard, goes up to these people. "Oh, there's no standing here on the bridge." All of a sudden, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then people keep walking on. So the reflection of authority through a vest and a clipboard makes people suddenly now obey ridiculous rules.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So these experiments really, it makes me think of myself, like, and I'm not to sit here brag or, make it seem like, this is the right thing, but I grew up as a black sheep of the family, uh, because I went outside of all the conventional thinking, and it started with school. I went to school every day. I didn't go to class. I got out of every class. I found more freedom and more learning from friends and in the street than I did in the confines of a structured classroom. I never liked the rules and the regulations and sitting with a bunch of people all learning on different levels than I was, and to be giving assignments that are the same for everybody. I like to explore things in a different way. I used to have an English teacher that I thought was the best and the worst at the same time, and she literally was the worst English teacher. But the assignments that she gave made you think, and they were creative, and it sparked something in me, and it sparked something in my friend. And we were the teacher's pests, not pets, but pests, and we destroyed this woman's life. But at the same time, with some of the things that she gave us to do as far as an assignment, like, it was English class, and it was, Macbeth, I think it was, with the Shakespeare and all that, and it was not something I was into, but the assignment for the class was, think of Macbeth operating in modern day, you know, create something with that. Oh, Christ. My buddy and I, we decide right away, okay, we're gonna be news reporters covering the whole Macbeth murder and all. And, just like I set up my studio in Apple Pocket, we went all out, and then we're talking the '80s, so it was much bigger equipment and all. I had half my room just covered, sound effects, microphones, cassette tapes. I sat and edited this tape, and him and we presented it together, and we were news reporters, and we had all the background noise going on, and we submitted it, and we heard nothing from her. Nothing, not even a grade. And that tape was lost, and again, it was an assignment given. We were following the protocol. We were doing what we were told. We were told to be creative. Once we were creative, we were the demons. We were the evil ones, we were cast out. And I think from there, I understood what was really going on, and that's why I became that black sheep, not to be a pain in anybody's ass, but to follow a path of free thinking rather than following the norms of everyday society, because I seen at a young age exactly what that does. Because I took so much pride in something, and I was actually proud. I was like, "Oh, for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to get a great grade," even though, as much as I hated going to school, I was proud of that, but I was never given anything for it. No kudos, nothing. It was always, "You're doing wrong. You're not doing right." But you were never doing right. Only a select few people that were following the rules 100%. They were the ones that were always getting the good grades, and they were always the one getting the kudos and the gold stars or whatever it may be.
And that was a little loaded because the right things are a little subjective. Because you're supposed to do it, you're supposed to do it right on time, right? But you're also supposed to understand it without asking questions. But if you don't understand it, you should ask questions, but ask the right questions at the right time when you're not going to annoy somebody. This is just like a little circle of like, okay.
Mhm.
And that's why you've really just got to do it messy. Whatever it is that you think you want to be doing, just do it and fuck it up if that's what you're gonna do, because when you come out of that, now, oh, well, now you know more, because if you just wait for everybody else to tell you when to stand up, when to be, it's beeping or whatever, you're gonna be following everybody else's rhythm, and you're just gonna feel like chaos forever. At some point, you've gotta find your own little flow there, and then you'll know what to build off of.
Mhm. And it expands even further, goes from school and learning, and my whole religious journey too, same thing. Religion is nothing more than conformity. It's a whole playbook that you gotta play page by page, and you gotta sit, stand, sit, sit, kneel, and that was the Catholic religion when you go into church. Same thing, replayed itself over and over again. There was nothing new. Couldn't question anything. Don't question God. God forbid we question God. And that's what turned me off, because that reminds me of school, and no matter what I would have believed in or what path I would have went on, I never felt that there was a problem with asking questions. But when you start asking questions that go against the narrative, they don't have an answer for it. So you're now the wrong one. You're now the evil one. You're not following the rules again. You're not playing by the religion. You're not saying, well, God said it is. Well, that's not good enough for me. That sounds pretty bad, but no, it does not sound good enough for me. There needs to be some sort of explanation behind things and why we're doing things, and if I felt that by not doing something, I still feel more fulfilled that way. Why should that be a problem? Why should that be an issue? But this is where the social standards, the social norms all come into play. And just from that one video you sent me, that's just one. And then these are other known experiments. But what about the unknown experiments? And don't tell me that there aren't any, because I know there are. There's experiments going on every single day to find out how much are we going to conform, and then they'll release stuff little by little to test their theories. And good case in point with that, the whole 2020 COVID thing with the bullshit about the masks and all this stuff. It goes against the very grains of what we were taught with medical stuff. A mask is not going to save you. It's not. But what it really was about, how many people are going to listen to us and do this and follow the stupid arrows on the grocery store floors, and that somehow that's going to stop a virus. But these are the social norms that were put into place in a very, very short period of time. And then it found out just how many people are actually listening, obeying, and following. This way somebody could sit there and take notes, and we become that social experiment.
Well, everything in society teaches us to just follow along and not to think about it yourself. Whatever it is that your decision, it's just, and I think the most important thing to do is to start letting your kids talk back to you. It sounds really funny to the other people when I tell my daughter something and she starts saying, well, no, I don't think that's fair because of these reasons. And I go, oh, actually, you're right. I do usually give you a 10-minute warning, and this time I'm just throwing like 3 more things on you at this time. And so you're right. Let's like switch it and do it a different way. And then to a lot of people that seems so unusual because like you told your daughter something, she should just do it. And it's like, well, I shouldn't if I want her to grow into be an adult who's not going to just take that from her boss or her significant other or her landlord or whatever. If I want her to question the world, I'm her first authority. So she should probably learn how to safely and comfortably, question my authority. Sometimes she's right. I don't think about it.
Hmm. Wow. And that's beautiful. I really love that. You see, I've never really raised kids, so I don't really know, but that's amazing. It's amazing that you see it on that level because yeah, that's where people are really getting their mindset from. It's from a young age and how they are raised. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're not going to teach them, yeah, well, because somebody said something, you got to do it, regardless who that person is. You know, there may be a few instances like, don't touch that fucking stove. You know what I mean? It's hot.
That's
It's
natural
hot.
consequences.
Yeah. Consequences
Don't
now
be
coming
touching
free. I mean,
organs.
right. I'm trying to save you from the consequences, but by all means, if you get burned, you're gonna learn. But you're right. It's the parents are still in that social norm. They're being trained to do what they were trained to do, and nobody wants to break out of that because these same people will be the same ones that say, yeah, oh, how do you do that? Why do you allow your daughter to do that? But yeah, well, why do you? And why do you talk out against, the social norms or, everybody wants to be free, but everybody wants to be free until it's time to become free. And then they cower, they run away. They want to do everything again the way they were taught to do it.
It's because it's easier when you can look around and see examples. And
Mhm,
I think part of that does come off of biology. We were also talking about the 100 monkey study
mhm.
where they gave tools to the monkeys on an island and the young monkeys learned how to do it. The older monkeys refused to. Well, after like a couple generations, the islands that are like completely unattached, they start doing it because there's this collective consciousness, this wisdom that people can pull from. But it takes the new generation who's like willing to look beyond what they're seeing as an example and try new things to do it. And I think when you can learn how to look around and appreciate everything that's being given, but not as a rule, that's when you start getting to tap into like your inner knowing versus like trying to piece it all together in what you see. Cause if you try to take inner knowing from what you see, you'll probably just drive yourself crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, and we can keep expanding this conversation on and on because we fail with advancement in society if we're allowing everybody to be closed-minded. Because it's like that. I'll take the medical field, for example. Doctors are taught one way. Well, because this is the way it's taught, this is the way it goes. And if some brilliant mind comes in and sees things a completely different way, and it goes against the medical advisory committee, oh, you can't do it. We can't do that. This is beyond the norm. Well, maybe you need to be beyond that norm in order to come up with something new, a new way to develop whether it be a medicine or, a way to treat something. But if you're not willing to listen and you're not willing to give people a chance or at least start the studies on, nothing's going to advance in society. This is why artists are so low on the chain of, education because art is so free to express and you can do whatever you want with it, but it's never applied anywhere because it's too free thinking. Nobody wants a free thinker in any type of structured type of environment.
It's not being properly valued.
Mhm. Right. Exactly. So we get stuck. We really do. And every time I think people get a idea in their head, they don't want to express it. They don't want to, bring it out because they're too worried that, oh, well, this is outside the social norm. We're not supposed to think this way, but it's really a great idea. And I really thought it out and it will help. But we're never going to get that out. We're never going to be able to express it. And that's why I don't want censorship. I don't want conformity. I just want free thinkers. That's all. Let me hear somebody who has a different way of thinking than me so I can learn something from that. And it could just go on and on and on from there. And I think then we'll have a beautiful world. But until then, we're kind of stuck with the constant bombardment of rules, regulations, conformities, policy, procedure.
With that, I think then we have to be open to people messing up and not behaving the way that we think they should. And opening ourselves to other people's perspectives because as equally as everybody else needs to grow and stuff, like we do too. And we're all going to find that as everybody becomes more authentic and quits going with just the standing up with the beeping, it's going to look really messy. It's going to probably look a little ugly, but it's all going to settle out into a much more beautiful collective rhythm, I think.
It will. Just like you with your chaos, except for today, your chaos is beautiful and I
Yes, I
admire
look at it.
it. Yeah. But, it's admirable though. It's something that can be viewed as seeing things from a different perspective and understanding how another individual can work, you know? So, yeah, the stroke of that paintbrush is so wide, so vivid, and so colorful. We could pick out any little color in there, any different texture in there, whatever it is, and we could apply it to something, but we don't. We want that rigid, clean, solid line. We don't want to paint outside the lines anymore. We just want to be dumb adults that just listen to whatever's told to us.
I think that's actually why I have such a hard time at the moment with my energy work is because I stopped trying to find a nice little perfect map for everybody because now I just want to teach people to basically paint their own energy because I think that's just really the most beautiful way to do it. But people struggle with that. They want somebody to explain how it's supposed to operate. And it's just not that simple. We're all just so different.
I got it, and that's why I said we could keep taking this conversation down so many roads because I would love to discuss that too. Because in the same field that we are kind of in, this whole spirituality and helping others, I I've turned my focus again to you need to help yourself. I can be here, I can guide, I can help, but ultimately to help You have to make the change. You have to apply it. I can give you different tools, different ideas. Apply it to yourself and how it works for you. Because I don't want to give a rigid, structured learning thing, saying, oh, well, in order to meditate, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, A, B, and then C. Nobody wants that. That's not meditation. Meditation is what you make of it. You have to find the time. Don't tell me I don't have time to meditate. That's a you problem. Find the time to meditate. Once you do, I could give you different ways of doing it. You pick the one that works for you. And I'm sure same thing with your work too as well. Especially when we're talking with energy work, everybody's tuned in on a different frequency. You can't dial into frequency 81 from frequency 60, You have to tell frequency 81 to do what you're doing. Here's the ways to correct and make improvements. We could fine tune you, but don't look at me for the answers and how to write it out, spell it out to you, because now it's going to become conformative, something we don't want.
They're supposed to remind you of an option. You know what I mean? A way back to yourself. One of many, many, many ways.
Yes, it is. So I'm hoping now everybody can just get an idea of, the social experimentation that we are. We are the experiment. Us black sheep and, the ones that stand up, the ones that have a voice and are not afraid to use it. Those are the ones that I want to stand by because they're the ones that have the real answers. They're the ones that are marching to the beat of their own drum. They're the ones that are seeing beyond all of this conformity and normalities that just aren't real, because when we were put here on the planet, we were just put here to, grow and develop. And whichever direction we go is the direction we go. Now we're placing too many walls up and too many obstacles, and, we're being told to do too much stuff that just doesn't apply to that. And we're not allowed to develop that way, and it's not a physical development, it's a mental development as far as how we're going to expand our minds, because our minds are capable of so much more than what we really know. And there's a key somewhere that can unlock new worlds. Those keys have been hidden from us. And I'm pretty sure they were hidden from us for a reason, because they do not want us to have that sort of power. And I'm going to leave it at that. What are your last words, Lizzie?
Well, I agree with all of that, except if they did hide it, it would still have to be in you. So just reconnect with yourself. It's nowhere but just you.
That's why I like working with you. You know exactly what's in my mind. Yeah, that key is in every single one of us. They hide it, but they hide it within us. So, for everybody listening, find your key, find your soul, find your voice, find your art, find your creativity, and damn it, go out there and express it. Break out of the box that you're in, break outside the lines, and do something that's going to piss them off. Do something that you were told not to do. Don't harm anybody doing it. Don't harm yourself. That's the only rules, that we should be following. But go out there and be creatively free. Become a free thinker. Don't worry about what other people are telling you. And don't forget to tune into all of our podcasts. We also now have Hannah Rose's The Sound Within. She's doing fantastic. I got a bunch of episodes from her. Another beautiful soul, and another great podcast alongside of Ann Lund's Haunted and Waiting, Sunset Child's Out There podcast, and Elaine's Arcane Oracle. And now even the OG Hannah, my stepdaughter, has Hannah's Unrealistic Desires, and they will pop up whenever she gets the, reason or need to put one out there, because she is not one of the conformative ones as well. So you'll get a podcast from her whenever she decides to have a podcast. So everybody, thank you again for listening. Lizzie, thank you, of course, for being here with me. It's always a pleasure. And we're going to be planning up our next big one. It's probably going to be another group conversation with Hannah Rose.